as Sheila mentioned, from the time when I was a tiny child, from the moment I could hold a pencil, I drew. And I made art prodigiously all through childhood and through adolescence and through into fine art school. I went to Central Technical School in Toronto, which it's a Board of Education program, meaning it's funded by the Board of Education, so it's free. Very unique program. And way back, earlier in the last century, some of the group of 7 actually taught there, like Arthur Lismer, I think, was one of the instructors. Not when I was there, but a while back. Very interesting school. There were some really interesting teachers. So after graduating in 1981 or so, or 82, I had to find a full-time job, of course. But painting and drawing at this time, somehow it got left behind. I can't really explain why or what happened to cause that, given that it had been kind of my lifeblood up until that point. But all of my creative energy got diverted into a career as a theatrical milliner. And Sheila was telling you a little bit about that. I make, and I still do, it's still an active, ongoing career, but not quite so full-time anymore. But I'm a maker of headdresses for ballet, opera, and theater. So I've been doing this now for over 25 years, and I have become, I guess, a recognized master of the craft, and I work freelance, so I have opportunities to work for companies all over North America, including New York and Broadway and all that. And it's kind of a funny world, like many small communities of artisans. It's quite a small world, and within that world I'm quite famous, maybe infamous. Despite all of that, because it is a very creative profession, and I do work with some amazing people who are very creative artisans in their own right, somehow it just wasn't quite enough to do just that. The whole time that I was working in theater, I felt a very keen awareness of this artist part of me. It was like a phantom limb. It was invisible to everyone else, but I knew it was there because I could feel it. And I longed to wake it up and use it again, but I didn't really know how after so many years of it laying fallow like that. And I'm sure you can all understand, you've probably had parallel experiences of being afraid to try, because in case it turned out to be a mirage, that thing I thought was born with me maybe wasn't really there. So finally, in 2007, I started taking evening life drawing classes with an instructor. And life drawing is simply the study of the human form to draw from life, which is an amazing challenge. It's really great, whether you're trying to do it as a step to a career or just to heighten your eye-hand coordination. It's a really, really interesting thing. And I became fascinated by doing portraits as well. It's wonderful how you can read people's stories in their face. So slowly, at around this time, as my studies progressed, and I took continuously these classes for a few years, I did begin to see things differently. There's an abandoned linseed oil factory up the street from our house in West End, Toronto, which is gloriously decrepit, and I am telling you, this place has everything. It has gorgeous Edwardian brickwork, and it has flaking paint and deep inky black mullioned broken windows and rusted iron. It's got this amazing canopy structure that is over an old railway siding, and it's got some kind of fabulous metal hopper contraption on the roof, and it's beautiful. And if this isn't enough, at the time when I first began to look at it, it was surrounded by wild, unkempt grasses and wildflowers. Beautiful. So this place gave me the idea for what became the Wabash series, and the most recent pieces in this ongoing series are actually in this show here, depicting this old building. So my first forays into making art outside of the life drawing classes were chalk pastel drawings of this old factory. And although the latest one is numbered Wabash number 34, that's its title, there's actually close to 40 pieces now, because having not planned all this, of course, at the very beginning, I didn't know it was going to, captivate me for so long, but there's at least 40 of them. So by 2009, The Wabash series that I was just talking about, it numbered over 20 large drawings. And I began to feel an urge to come out and share with people what I was doing, even though this prospect was completely terrifying, but I was compelled nonetheless. I had postcards printed and I mailed them to everybody I knew to announce the launch of my very first website. Previously, I'd never had a website for the hats. I didn't need one because, as with so many types of work, the work came to me through word of mouth. I didn't really require, it had been years since I'd written a resume, because it just wasn't a requirement. And that summer, my husband Stephen and I decided, well, why don't we just mount a show of these drawings, and we'll invite all of our friends and just see what happens. So we did this. We invited everybody, and we plied them with wine and snacks, just sound like anyone you know, right. Familiar at all. And we had a fantastic party. It actually felt a lot like this wonderful event here last night and today. And anyway, it was a huge success, very well attended, and to my immense joy and satisfaction, my unbelievable amazement, people bought my work. So the studio show, since that one, the first one in 2009, has become a yearly event, and now it's a neighborhood institution.